everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Worthit podcast. We're on season 2, it's episode number 2. Hello Alex, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Nice, good stuff. So, I don't know if you noticed, but on Instagram, The Rock posted a little video clip, and he actually mentioned that his film company are actually going back into production starting mid-September. And it's an interesting concept, and I want to, I guess, talk a little bit more about it today further on into the podcast. However, before we do that, we have a little announcement to make. Alex, tell us about the 4 brand new short films that are coming over the next 4 weeks.
Indeed. So we have Reconnection, which is coming up, which is all based on a video call between two characters, and it gets quite interesting.
Yep.
And then we also have a number of other projects coming up, which are all, very, very interesting. The names escape me now, but yeah, no, they are all really, really good, definitely, in the pipeline.
Yeah, I think it's tough to remember all the names because when you work on one project, you get your head kind of set in one particular thing, and then trying to think of all the other names and all the other characters, especially in other projects, is so tough. So it's really good sometimes to split it down, I guess. And that's something that I've come across recently. Whenever I'm trying to schedule people in to do certain work for certain projects, I'm trying to, I guess, solo them on one particular area/field, which is a lot tougher than I realized. There's a lot going on at the minute at Worthit, which is really, really good, and I'm really excited to see all the content coming out this month, especially. We decided to capitalize on the film from home kind of thing. Kind of jumped on the bandwagon a little bit late, I guess, but in a way we've got content coming out, and yeah, really excited. We've got a new director as well, Jake. He's doing a fantastic job. He's made one short film already, and he's also directed the next one along called Garden Party. This week, actually, we have releasing a short film called, oh my God, don't let the name escape me either. Oh my goodness. No, it's called Fearful Thoughts. And it's releasing on Friday at 6 p.m. And each Friday, 6 o'clock for the entirety of August, we'll have a brand new short film out. And they've all got different themes, different styles, and different feels towards all of them. Yeah, I'm really excited to show you all. But back on with talking about, I think it's Project Red? Is that what it is? The Rock's project's called?
I think it might be, yeah, something like that.
Anyways, yeah, this project's going back into production. The way in which they're going to do it is through the support bubble slash coronavirus bubble method, where they gather all of their crew, tell them to isolate for 2 weeks with that, and if they don't present any symptoms, then they're going to be allowed onto set. And they're still going to try and, I can imagine, try and maintain social distancing. But, in reality, on a massive production, on a massive set, they all have to kind of be close and get on with it. Especially the cast who were shooting sequences, stunts guys, all that, they're all going to have to break those rules, and that's why the production company anyway, posing this new strategy, the support bubble strategy, which is it's an interesting move, I guess. If we think about it from our perspective and a smaller company, it's really easy for the likes of Netflix, Amazon Prime, all those people to just throw millions and millions of dollars at a production and get them all to isolate. But with the likes of us, it's a little bit tougher. Can you see the reasons why, Alex?
Yeah, first of all, we've not got that budget to back up. We've not got those millions and millions of dollars to throw at a project. So when we have to film stuff, we have to do it on quite a tight schedule, and try and get those out as fast as possible, so we don't necessarily have the luxury of performing that, enclosed bubble, so to speak, of that COVID thing for the crew. So that's something that we have to deal with, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. We can't just turn around on the likes of Mandy and just tell all of our cast, oh, by the way, you've got to isolate yourself for 2 weeks, not do anything, don't go outside, don't do anything, you've got to stay inside. We can't do that because we don't pay them. So, and they're also not under any paid contract either, so we can't do that. However, these bigger companies, they can, and it's an interesting method. And I don't really, I think, when we go towards post-lockdown, we go towards filming again. I think it's going to be heavily based upon trust and trust between us crew, as the guys that work together all the time, and also trust with your outside cast members as well, just to know that if they were to bring anything harmful or dangerous, it's like with anything, isn't it? If coronavirus wasn't a thing, you'd still need trust anyway within set work. But because coronavirus is a thing and it is a big issue, we need that extra element of security whenever we're on set as such, and yeah, it's a different one. It's a difficult one, isn't it? Really, I've always been toying with the idea for many months of when to go back, how to go back, what to do when we do go back. There's a lot of jumping through hoops that we're going to have to achieve in the near future. But I really can't wait to get back on set and actually, get back filming dramas and stuff again because, that's what we set. The reason why I set up the company, and that's the way forward we want to go anyway. So yeah, how long do you reckon, Alex, it'll take for us to get back on set?
Fully back to normal, I reckon probably October time, something like that.
Yeah.
I think once, I say get back to normal, I don't think it's going to get back to normal properly anytime soon. But I think as long as we can start to get actors on set where they feel comfortable and also have crew on set where they also feel comfortable, that's the biggest hurdle to get through, I think.
That's right. Yeah. When we film documentaries, we go out and about, we do our shooting stuff. Do you feel comfortable? Do you feel uncomfortable? Do you feel like nervous or anyway, or?
Yeah, no, I think that's something which has been really good as we've been coming out of lockdown, is that we've all our projects that we've done, whether that be Dirt or Get Growing, that we've had to be in person for, we've all maintained more or less social distancing at all times, and we've also been very good about wearing masks and things like that on set.
Yeah.
And it's been very good for everyone on crew.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, I don't know if I mentioned this before, but the notion of filming documentaries is a lot easier than filming short films because there's less need and there's less likelihood that we'll be in contact with each other. So filming documentaries has always been the way forward for us to get back outside, to stay on set, and to stay filming. It's not exactly an ideal route for us to take, but at the moment it's something that really works well for us. So we're going to keep doing it, keep capitalizing on the opportunity that's there at the moment. And I think that's what it's all about, isn't it? It's about taking the opportunity as it comes and when it comes, because and always be, I guess, on the lookout for more opportunity to do more filmmaking and more different styles of stuff. Um, as you say, adapt into film from home or making solo made short films, maybe even down to what we did for Reconnection, which is out next week, where we had to literally teach them how to camera operate over like Skype or Zoom or whatever we used. Yeah, it's interesting. It's tough and it's a challenge. And I don't mind challenges. Challenges are good. Challenges are good. But I do miss filmmaking real bad. Yeah, so it's an interesting situation. Okay, so moving swiftly on, let's talk about another topic that's kind of risen during the whole coronavirus pandemic and lockdown, and that's the nature of sitting down on your backside and watching video game streams. And it's not just us sitting down and watching Netflix or Amazon Prime. Video gamers and the streaming community, Twitch, Mixer, Facebook Gaming, well, goodbye Mixer, of course. But yeah, the whole notion of streaming has become absolutely massive over this coronavirus period. What do you reckon?
Yeah, no, massively. I think that's something which a lot of people, whether they didn't necessarily do it before, but due to the circumstances of COVID being locked up, they've just been taken an interest to it. There's more and more people doing it now as a hobby than ever before, and it's an industry that's boomed, definitely.
Do you think that's an issue? Because the more people that do it, I guess the more oversaturated the market becomes. Is that a big problem, or?
Yeah, I think in the long term, I don't think it's a problem because I don't think that it's going to intrude on like your big streamers like Shroud or Ninja or whatever. But I think in the short term, it's definitely it's cool because at the end of the day, it gets people more informed about how it works as well. It helps your average person understand more about what happens behind the scenes with your larger streamers, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Because there is, after all, I think there's a stereotype when it comes to video game streamers. Oh, you just sit at the desk all day. They turn on the console and they just play video games all day. But it's not that. There's a lot behind the scenes that go into it. As you mentioned, there's the whole idea of the setup and the streaming capabilities, the Wi-Fi, the actual content itself is, massively driven by people who know what they're doing. And these guys are part of big organizations that make millions and millions and millions of dollars a year. And everything is catered for them and sorted. There was I don't know if you watched it. The Gadget Show actually did like a segment on gaming, and they followed a team. I think it was a Korean team. Was it Legal? It might have been League of Legends Korean team, and they have their own, the stream house, the whole setup, and they all video game inside that one particular house. Um, and it was so interesting to to see the inside, the life, and it's all available on YouTube. You can go and see all the behind the scenes of like the Houston Outlaws, Optic Gaming, and there's loads of different organizations that do this like feature where they all I guess design their own life around video games as such. And it seems silly because video games are something that people enjoy. So why would you do it as like a profession? That's surely not a real job. But then again, we're filmmakers, and is that a real job? It's something that people can do as a hobby as well. People can do photography as a hobby, but people take that as a job as well. There's loads of different things that people often dismiss for no reason, I guess. And it's that stereotype that people need to get around. And it's sort of working now because it's become so necessary to connect online because we're so locked down and we're in such a state where we're at home all the time. Even in regards to something silly as like work meetings and Teams, Discord, Skype, it's become used so much now because everyone's tagging onto it because they need to actually connect to work. Yeah, what do you think? Do you like remote working, remote gaming? Do you do it much, Alex? Or
I think that the remote working thing is really handy for just stuff like meetings. Definitely, because it also, I mean, not just the fact that you don't have to be there in person, but also the fact that if you're working from home on a meeting, you can also like in our case pull up assets that you otherwise maybe could not access at work, for example. So that's a benefit definitely for working at home.
I mean, I guess a lot of the time when we talk about our personal meetings and when we go into like Worthit meetings and pre-production meetings and all that jazz, we have to often print stuff out, bring it down to an actual like coffee shop or something, and we all gather together and sit down at a table and we talk about the project. When in reality, we could be sat here right now in front of computer screens and actual stuff where we could get actual work done. A lot of the time, it's spending money to go and do something, to sit there for a little bit at a time, to write some stuff down, to go home and type it all up. It doesn't really make much sense. You cut out the middleman entirely when you do the video or online meetings. And it makes more sense. It just makes more sense in general. So yeah, that's I guess that's a notion of that on the rise. There's something else that I wanted to talk about too, which I just remembered, and that is the court hearing for the tech companies. I don't know. Did you see that in the news at all, Alex?
Yes.
About the likes of Facebook and Amazon. I'm just dipping down here to pick up this before I break it. Oh no, I dropped it again. Oh well. But yeah, Facebook and the giant tech companies are being hauled into court because they technically own too much of the market and take too much control of the market, which people are a little bit worried about. What do you think of that? Do you have an opinion on that at all?
It's a hard one, really, because if you look at Apple, they've created their App Store, and it's the issue. I think the issue was that they take 30% of revenue from app makers, and the issue was that they'd enforced that as a general rule for everyone. However, there've been some things. I think they used Prime Video as an example, where they'd lowered that barrier to 25%, I think, or 15%.
Right. Yeah.
And so there was that issue, and I think it's a tricky one, really, because it's an ecosystem where they've grown. So it's whether or not you think they should be allowed to set the rules for what they do.
Yeah.
But I also get where something like the FCC is coming from, where they say, well, okay, there is no alternative to people that want to put their content on your store. And I think that could also extend to stuff that studios, if they want to put films on iTunes. iTunes is a massive library. Loads of people use it, but if they lose the monetary incentive for that, if they had the ability to say, oh well, we would take half of our revenue, which theoretically could happen. There is no alternative. I mean, there are for movies in this case, but for app makers, which is also another form of media, there's no alternative. It has to be the App Store. So
Yeah,
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 it's a tricky one to get around, really. And the same with the likes
yeah.
of Facebook and Amazon as well.
And even if there was an alternative, there isn't a platform as big as Apple that you can
Mm.
actually host on. So therefore, if there was like a secondary or a third alternative that you could go to, you wouldn't get as much of the exposure and you wouldn't end up having to generate as much. It's about that climb, isn't it? And I guess something similar happened with Spotify, didn't it, a couple of years back, where Taylor Swift pulled all of her music from Spotify because she felt like that the smaller creators weren't getting as much revenue off of their songs and their playthroughs as the likes of the bigger creators were. And that's because the percentage was so low that people who only sell or get listened to about 10, 15, 20,000 times a month will get absolutely nothing. But the likes of Taylor Swift, who gets hundreds of millions of listens per week, let alone per month, will take tons and tons of revenue off because, that small percentage doesn't matter for her because she's so big. But it does matter to the smaller creators. And that's something that, caused kind of a bit of a rift and a bit of upset, I guess. And yeah, it is crazy to think about, giants and platforms and streaming services becoming so big. But yeah, there is, as you say, no other alternative. What would happen, do you reckon, if there were like 15 or 20 different platforms that you could go off? Would anybody hold interest at all? Would
Yeah,
it
well,
get boring?
that's been the thing that's drawn people, I think, to streaming. I mean, that and the fact that it's been cheaper historically, but that kind of links in with it. If it used to be that like you'd either pay for your cable subscription or you
Hmm.
could, if you didn't really care about that, you could then get a load of films or a load of TV shows with your Netflix subscription instead. But
Hmm.
now, if it's saying that you need a subscription to like NBC or you need a subscription to Warner Brothers One or Netflix Prime
Yeah,
Video, all of them, it's starting to become more expensive and a lot more fragmented. And I think a lot of people
yeah.
don't like that.
Because you're almost now picking exclusivity. So what has the best exclusives? And then you have to go for that, I guess. Disney has its own stuff. Netflix has its own originals. Amazon Prime has their own originals as well. It's all about which one you reckon is the best. And whilst the price isn't that expensive as such, if you add them all up together per month, that's a lot of money you're spending out on TV that you might potentially not watch at all. And it's about getting the time. But now people have more time, then obviously there'll be more subscriptions, there'll be more 30-day trials going on. But when we all get back to a normal, it's everything's just gonna go ooh goodbye again, and it's gonna slip off the edge. Um, and that the idea of the acquisitions that Facebook made with Mixer and when they bought Mixer out and just deleted it from existence, that kind of is a statement to say like, yeah, I want control. I want to own some more marketplace, which is kind of a scary thing to think that they could just click their fingers and buy out a multi-billion-dollar like segments of the industry, which is it's crazy. And Disney kind of do the same thing in the film industry in a way, don't they? They've started acquiring different things. They buy out different parts, different companies, and eventually they're going to build their empire to a point at which they own most of the films that come out. I don't know. I remember seeing like a crazy high percentage one day of Disney actual what was it? It was Disney's box office films for an entire year. And literally most of the films that came out in that particular year were Disney owned in some way, shape, or form. Again, quietly acquiring most of the market until it's maybe potentially too late. Until somebody turns around and go, hey, hang on a minute, you're doing a dodgy thing, and then, oh well, I already own everything. Too
Yeah.
bad, so sad. Too bad, so sad. But yeah, that is, I guess, market acquisition. That is company giants being funny whilst the coronavirus is a thing and whilst people's attention is averted, I guess. They can take advantage of us all. But yeah, I reckon eventually, when life starts to get back to normal, hopefully, fingers crossed, everything will start to level out. We'll be getting back to normal filmmaking, where everyone will be getting back to going to the cinema again, which is something that we really want to do because cinemas are a great experience always. And yeah, we can actually make traditional film in a cinema. Did you see the film festival, the Venice Canal one?
I don't think I did. No.
There was a guy who decided to hold the Venice Film Festival via canal boat, I guess. He put a huge screen up and he got everyone to join on their canal boat, and they were all like lined up, about 100 different boats. And they were all
Oh
watching
wow.
the festival. It was absolutely brilliant. So yeah, hopefully the traditional filmmaker people like them will try and keep cinema alive for as long as it possibly can. But yeah, that is the end of today's podcast. Thank you very much, Alex, for joining me today. I do appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
Oh, no worries at all. If you did enjoy listening to the podcast, if you're listening over on Spotify, then make sure you come over and don't head out, stay here. Make sure you come over and check out our YouTube channel where you can see our ugly faces talking, as well as hearing our terrible voices too over the audio waves. If you do want to see more content over on a YouTube channel, then make sure you stay along, hit that subscribe button. Of course, we do have lots of behind the scenes content coming soon, especially considering we have 4 brand new short films releasing this Friday, next Friday, Friday after, and the Friday after that, with loads of behind the scenes stuff, loads of featurette bits and pieces to go with it over on our social media pages. So make sure you check it all out. Thank you very much for listening, guys, and I will speak to you all in next week's episode. Bye.